Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience episode number 508. Thank you for joining us for Black Entrepreneur Experience. This is where we shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and I am so honored today. We have with us Dr. Crystal Jones. She is a multifaceted healing facilitator, speaker, and doctor. She's the founder and CEO of the Healers Collective. Hi, Dr. Crystal. How are you?
I'm well. It's great to be here.
Well, you know what? We are so honored to have you on Black Entrepreneur Experience. Tell us about your expertise. You know, I've given our audience a very brief bio about yourself. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with us what you'd like us to know about your company and your business and yourself?
So I think the expertise I have is when I deal with women who are going through emotional and mental blockages. My background in chiropractic and other types of healing modalities allows me to relate them to the physiology of the body and really allows me to hold space for women without necessarily directing them in the direction I think they should go. So I often say my expertise is integration and effectively holding space for other people. Outside of that, the Wellness Production Company, we specialize in consulting and curating and executing wellness in the corporate arena, the entertainment world, and in the community, just because a lot of people have not seen wellness as something that was for them. We do that, and we do that pretty regularly now. And so it's been very exciting to do that.
Dr. Crystal, tell us about this aha moment. How did you discover that this was the direction that you were going to go into? When people think basically chiropractic, being a chiropractor, more working on alignment and adjustment of the body. So tell us about how that whole collaboration came and this aha moment that you said, this is the space that I'm going to work in.
So interestingly enough, for when you mentioned chiropractic, there never really was an aha moment where I was like, this is exactly what I'm going to do, because I don't like being boxed in. So I would say that my journey has led me to chiropractic and even beyond chiropractic, because that's my highest title and licensure. However, even after being a chiropractor, I became a doula, and I have worked in the Healing Arts Temple, the Raseiki Healing Arts Temple. So for me, this has been a journey. And my private practice has evolved with the formal education that I've gotten, along with really listening to what I was actually doing for women. There's one part that really knows what it is that I intend to do. And then the other part, really, I get overwhelmed, and it's in a good way, with what women actually say happens in their lives. And so I found that being true to the work has been the path for me, and that chiropractic is one of those ways. It's not the only way. And for me, my business has been about being open to new languages of healing and learning and immersing myself and always being a student.
Do you primarily work with women, or do you work with both male and females?
My primary audience is women. For this company, for the production company, that is a very mixed crowd. It's whoever comes out. It depends on who contacts us to do the work for them. But for my private practice, it is mostly women, as the vision is about women owning their power and elevating the universe. So generally, I do work with women. I have worked with men. They often bring their partners, or there are men who deal more in their feminine energy, and I work with them as well. But like I said, the primary audience is women.
What is the method if someone wanted to connect with you? How do you find that you're getting your clients right now? What is the way that the majority of individuals are finding Dr. Crystal Jones?
The majority of people find me through referrals. So I really focus on doing the best that I can at all times, so that whatever the person believes that I'm doing, what they see from me, they refer back based on those things. So I would say 95% of my audience is referrals. Outside of that, I do have, and I say referrals meaning when I do speaking engagements and I do healing events, I'm also referred out there as well. When they get to meet me, they tell other people about me. Some people directly don't see me, but then they'll tell somebody else about me. Outside of that, it would be social media, but I don't have a huge social media following that moves into the really deep work. They tend to maybe come to a speaking engagement first or come to a wellness production event first.
So why don't you take us as much as you can into that experience? If I came to see Dr. Jones, tell me what that would look like, what I would feel like when I left. What should that experience be like for me personally if this is my first encounter with you?
So the first encounter with me personally, once you've already heard about what I do, you've likely said this is what I want to do. And 9 times out of 10, you're dealing in a crisis or in a trauma type situation. You've probably done everything in the allopathic realm. You've seen every medical doctor, you've seen every psychiatrist, psychologist, and it's not necessarily that those things don't work, but they're not getting you where you're trying to go. So when you automatically meet me, I ask you 2 questions, and those 2 questions are, who are you and what is it that you want from me? So I automatically put the power back in your hands about what this experience is going to be and what you're looking for. Once we decide that, and sometimes that takes a little longer, sometimes that may take a few visits for someone to actually understand how to activate their power and decide what they want and understand who they are outside of all the titles that the world has given them. We begin to delve into what's going on, what's really going on a foundational level. What has put you into this place? What truths, what toxins, what traumas are you holding on to that are no longer serving you? Are you ready to let them go? Are you not ready to let them go? What narrative is your life living? And what narrative is your life playing by? And once we've moved through understanding what it's already playing by, then we move towards what do you want it to play by? And so that means writing down the affirmations, or it depends on what type of client it is. It's usually in their language, what you are living by, even the things that you're shameful that you actually believe about yourself. And then we go through and we change those narratives, and you present to me with your body aligning towards the place that you don't necessarily want to be in. And then once we've curated that new narrative, we begin to align your body physically to the spiritual and emotional place that you want to be.
The clients that you're dealing with, is it all face-to-face, or are you doing anything virtual with any of your clients?
The majority is face-to-face. I prefer face-to-face. There are many things and people who have many companies that do a lot of virtual work, and it does work. However, I like to be with the person, hold the space for the person with them actually being there. So the majority of my work is, I would say like 97-98% is me actually being there. I fly out to all of my clients, whether they're in the U.S. or outside of the U.S., and I am with them between 24 and 72 hours, depending on what's going on and what they're actually looking for.
Dr. Crystal, what's a daily or a weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
The daily activity that I do that gives me the greatest success is begin my days filling my cup up through prayer and meditation so that I can pour from abundance, not reserves. I would say I could name books and so many rituals that could be done, but the biggest thing that really helps me is clearing my vessel and being able to pour from a place of abundance.
How would you personally, Dr. Crystal, define success?
Success to me is freedom and being myself, being able to go and move about anywhere in freedom, being able to speak my truth in freedom. That's what success has evolved for in me. At first, I thought there was an actual dollar amount with success, but no matter where that went, there's always like another level of success with that. For me now, it's freedom. When I feel free, I'm very successful.
How long did it take for you to manifest that level of success, that level of freedom, that you're able to be yourself? How long did it take to manifest in your life?
I will say there's a part of me that's always had that freedom of actually being able to be myself. But the the level of unapologetic truth that I'm at right now, I would say probably it took about 7 or 8 years. And even though I feel like I get really deep into my truth and deep into doing exactly what it is that I'm here to do, moving, even if it's from a title or a certification, moving away from anything that blocks that, even though I do that, I feel like when I get to a place where I'm living in truth, there comes something else to say, to ask me, or to maybe challenge me into going further into my truth. So I don't think I'm always ever there, but I think about 7 or 8 years into business, I decided that I wasn't going to apologize at all for being myself and continuing to do the work into coming into that truth more and more and more.
And I think, Dr. Crystal, a lot of us would love to have that type of freedom, being authentically who you are, who we are, and we hear that a great deal about that freedom. Someone is listening and they say, Dr. Crystal, how can I get there? How can I get to my authentically true self?
Listening. I think there's so much out there about what you should, what the steps are to be successful, what the steps are to be yourself, what the steps are to be all of these different things. And while I truly believe in guidance, I do believe the strongest guide is the highest power. And I believe connecting to that, actually dedicating a certain time or a certain amount of time per day to connect with the source of your living is the best way to truly begin living in your truth. Because without that, you'll start to question yourself, or you'll say, well, this author said do it this way, and they're successful, and this author said this, and this author said that, and my mentor said this. And then we get confused with all of these outside noises. I think really listening and honing in on dedicating time to connecting to something greater than yourself, or that's what I would recommend for anybody who says, well, how are you unapologetically yourself? How do you, because sometimes that comes with backfire. That comes with people not understanding. That comes with people being curious, but translating that into a language of coming at me, or not coming at me, using derogatory terms, anything, because they're curious and they don't know how to really express that. So what you have to do is be so strong in your connection to why you're here, what you're doing, that those things don't really waver you. And then when that, whatever you call God, universe, ultimate power, whatever it is you call it, when that challenges you to go deeper, you must go deeper. You have to let go and you have to go deeper. And that's how you begin continually evolve and live in your truth every single day.
What is one valuable lesson, Dr. Crystal, that you wish you knew before starting your business?
The most valuable lesson, what I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known that failure was a perspective, not a destination. I wish I knew that success was a perspective, not a destination. That understanding is something that I wish I would have known. It would have kept me from being so fearful of failure.
So would you consider yourself happy at the moment in what you're doing?
Absolutely. I absolutely love what it is that I'm doing with the private practice and with the production company. I love seeing women take their power, and I think I am so happy with it because my work is not about me. And when I see women who are on the brink of not wanting to be in this world anymore, really take on their power and then turn their shadows or their darkness into light, I don't know a better feeling that I could ever arrive at or feel than that. So I'm absolutely happy with what it is that works through me. It's not necessarily what I do. I fast before I even talk to anyone. So I know that it's not me, but what works through me. So I'm very honored that this works through me as a vessel.
How do you keep your happiness throughout the journey?
I believe happiness is a choice. And I think it's also fleeting. The word happiness is a you can be happy or you can be sad, or I don't really deal in absolutes. So I am, and sometimes that does look like happiness. That looks like, sometimes that looks like tears. That looks like so many different things. But I think at the realization of I am and everything is happening for me, not against me, I think I am grateful at all times. And I keep that in mind when I feel like something's coming at me. I have to think about, well, how how is this working in the greater good of everything that surrounds me right now? And so I have to shift that perspective quickly. And that's what keeps me in this constant state of gratitude. And sometimes I'm not there. It's a practice. I think, the world now is all about pretending like everything is like this every single moment of the day. But even in the hard times, I allow myself to be in the hard times, but I understand that this is working for highest good. That's the difference. It's not pretending that there aren't hard times. It's understanding that this is for a greater purpose. I am being broken down to be built back up because this is not about me. So it allows me to stay in that space.
So Dr. Crystal, talk to a younger you. What advice would you give to a younger Dr. Crystal?
A younger Dr. Crystal, I would tell her that the answers are within. I would tell her that there's no possible way for her to fail. All she has to do is shift her mindset. And I say that because I used to be very, very, very type A. And once again, that's all about fear of failure and not being good enough, all of these different things. So I would tell her she's good enough, that she knows enough, and that once she really gets that foundation of her why, know your why first. Once you know your why, everything will flow from that. If everything is not flowing clearly, it's that you got to get back to your why. Find that first.
Yeah, I heard a TED Talk, your why must make you cry. Who are your top 2 influencers, Dr. Crystal, in your life, and what lessons did they teach you?
There are so many influencers in my life. I will say that my aunt Carmen is a huge influencer because I saw when I was a very young child her leave her corporate world and become an entrepreneur because she was given a vision, and I still see her working towards that vision, and I see her very free and very successful to this day. So I learned to stay the course from her. I learned that when things don't even make logical sense, that it's about the message. What was given to you, are you willing to trust this or not? Faith is great, but faith without work is dead. So that was one of the greatest lessons I learned from my Aunt Carmen. Another person that I've learned a lot from outside of my parents and family would be one of my friends, Brandy Shelton. And I've seen her work as, I've seen her build a company and do everything that she had to do and be a wife and be a mother and find her center and do all things in excellence. So she's a really big influencer for me as well. And she's always told me, just do the work, ask for help. And that was something that was hard for me. So asking for help, just doing the work, staying steadfast, those are things that I learned from Brandy. And she runs this amazing tea shop. And I absolutely love to just go in there and see her family dynamics. And I love to see her making things happen. And all of that with a sense of gratitude and benevolence and appreciation. And it's just beautiful to actually see those qualities in a woman that looks like me.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that and giving a shout out to your friend and fellow Black entrepreneur, Brandy. So we salute her. A lot of people that's listening, they want to start a business, Dr. Crystal. One of the so-called challenges may be finances, raising capital and getting started. Can you share with our audience, how did you fund your business and how do you continue to keep your business afloat?
That's very interesting because I talked on Twitter about this last week, interestingly enough. And my message was that I actually started private practice, and I've started 3 private practices and the wellness production company with actually 0 capital. And that came because it was so very clear what it is that I was doing, why I was doing that, and everything turned over profit within the first month. So I don't believe I have the traditional advice of where you get certain things from because I don't know. I do know that everything lines up when you're very, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, clear on what you're doing and why you're doing it. And so when Well, I guess to begin with, like, you have to have like your first month rent and all of these different things when it comes to opening new practices. That's probably all that I had saved at that moment, because I was just getting fresh out of school and I was touring and I was doing all of these different things. And so where I got the funds from was actually the business and doing the work and going in and making it happen from day one and bringing the people in. And it was more so attracting people than targeting and doing all of this marketing, which is great now. But this was back before social media. It was just about, is your work good or is it not? So anything I can tell anybody about raising capital is be good at what you do. Maybe you have investors, maybe you have all of these different things. If you have a product line, and I've had a product line that I once again started with no capital, but I was just very clear, and I knew that I had to make this within this first month in order for it to turn over and invest back in itself. And so these things happen.
Talk to our audience. You mentioned a great deal about clarity and your why. And someone is saying, how do I get there? How do I get to defining my why? How do I get to that moment of clarity? And how do you know and recognize that it is a moment of clarity and that you can see clearly now and move forward in terms of your destiny?
So when it comes to your why, I think the first thing to understand is that you're not searching for it, that it's within you, and that many things have come and clouded your judgment of like things are impossible or this may get in the way. Remembering your why is about getting through all of those things, and sometimes it takes you writing down all of those excuses and then saying, are these actually true, or do I believe these are true because I'm scared? Literally writing down all of your excuses and getting rid of your excuses will allow you to say, this is my chosen path in the world. And you continually answer that question, well, why? And so why is this important? Why is that important? How do I connect this to literally why I breathe every single morning? I think people must also understand that your why is not just about business. Your why is why you wake up every morning. It's why you love people the way that you love them. It's why when you really embody and remember why your chosen path or why anything, you don't have to jump in and out of those. I think a lot of times people, when they're looking for their purpose or the clarity around their business, they think that it's just one, that's something they have to figure out for the business. And then that's something they have to figure out for their love life. And that's something they have to figure out for education. And the thing is, your why is your spinal cord. That's, how I relate everything back to chiropractic. Your why is your spinal cord. And so that shows up in business, multiple businesses, that shows up in education when you get like frustrated and you don't really want to continue on with the degree program. You continue going because there's something greater and you know why you're doing it, even if you can't see. So you have to just sit in your stillness, which is what is a little counterintuitive to what the commonalities of this world are right now. The business is a trend. All of these things are trends for you to like be less mindful. So mindfulness is the key to being clear on why. And then once you really get that foundation, understanding that now I can evolve. Now if something comes to me that I'm supposed to evolve this why, I'm open to it. I'm open to the fact that this is not my forever moment right now. And that once I master this, once I master myself, once I master being, there's a new level. And then you just continually, you're not really achieving, you're just continually becoming greater versions of yourself. And the better you become a greater version of yourself, the better your business, your love life, your finances will become. Everything, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Dr. Crystal, what have you not done in life that you dream about often?
I have not been married and I do not have children, so I dream about that very often.
Thank you for that. So I know you said that you do not deal in failure. I like what you said at the top of the podcast interview. So let's shift gears and talk about that worst moment in business. Tell us about that and what was that takeaway?
So I thought about this one. The worst moment in business for me is always when I feel like the world is against me. And so typically it's hard to pinpoint a certain thing because I feel like everything's got me to where I'm at right now, which is an amazing thing. But there have been points in business where I may have had $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in contracts that were intended to go through in a month, and every single one of them fell through. And the moment that they fell through, I began to think that I was a failure, that I did something wrong, because the outcome was threatening my safety and security or my basic needs. And so I looked at it as a worst moment in business. And then as soon as my perspective shifted, I realized that for every one of those contracts, I didn't really want to do those things. Those things would have propelled me in a financial way to a certain level. However, those weren't the only doors to that level of financial income for that month. Everything else was provided for, but for me, I was just like, I've lost all these things. I didn't think that I actually gained space for what it is that I wanted. I was thinking of how much I lost. So that has happened before for me, where I think of what I'm losing, and I'm not losing anything. I'm gaining space. I'm gaining days on my calendar so that I can actually see people who want to do the work that I actually do, not something that I don't want to do. So that's how I tend to recover, is changing that perspective, allowing myself to feel the way that I feel, not judging that. But then once I move through that feeling, which is a very true feeling, shifting that perspective and saying, I have space. Because now that I've realized I have space, now what I've been looking for can actually find me, instead of, having other things in those doors and in the way.
I love that. Dr. Crystal, what is a technology tool or a technology platform that is a must-have for you in managing your business day to day?
I would say, because I'm not as good when it comes to technology, I would say my website, because I can view everything. I can view analytics. I can view so many things from the website. I can view social media through the website. So I would say that I have everybody lead into the website so that, one, people really understand who it is that I am. My scheduler is on there, and ways to contact me are on the website. So people kind of know that who I am and that they actually want to work with me or that they don't want to work. So I think the website is a great holding space for that. It's a technology I'm probably best at.
What milestone do you want to accomplish for your business and your brand over the next couple of years?
For the private practice and more so the healing work, I desire and will have completed the training modules to teach people how to effectively hold space and integrate healing modalities into multiple platforms. So that's the private practice, so that when I'm working with like 5,000-7,000 people, that I'm able to actually get to all of them and ensure that they do have quality care. For the wellness production company, the biggest goal is for it to be the premier wellness production company in the world. And that's based on my partner and I's. We are committed to excellence. So I really would like to see that happen. And I know it will happen within the next 2 years top. We're working really hard to make that happen every single step of the way. So we really see, elevating that narrative of wellness and everybody understanding that wellness is for them. And even like I say, in the entertainment world, people knowing that it's available to them, and we can make it convenient for them. In the corporate world, people being happier and not wanting to quit their jobs because they don't have any access to be well. And then in the community, especially my community or communities that I've been in, and changing a lot of darkness into light, because people have other opportunities to be a light in the world because they've seen a light in the world.
Dr. Crystal, if someone is wanting to do the same type of business that you're doing in the private practice, and even on the production, I don't know if you can talk about them both or if you desire to talk about one. Tell them some how-to. What would they need to do to make that happen for them?
It's funny because I was like, there's so many ways and so many people tell you how to do things, but it's inside. However, I would say when it comes, I mentor quite a few people in the healing space. What I tell them first, or before I can do anything with them, they have to get clear on what they're doing, why they put their hands on people, why they stand in front of people, why they speak, why they lead people in yoga. If you don't know that, I can't work with you. I can't I don't know what it is that you really want to do. So step one is to truly understand that. Two, what need are you meeting? And then what is your audience? Because I believe it's so much more effective for you to become an attractive force than for you to spend so much time targeting people and making people just be numbers on the internet. Just targeting them and having them as dollar signs. I think that is harsh. I think that is upsetting. Two, becoming an attractive force by taking care of yourself, by being really clear and actually attracting what it is that you want. And then three, for you to have a successful business or a successful private practice, you have to do continuing education. You have to get better at your craft. You have to sit in silence and let the innate wisdom pour into you. Now for wellness production, that was much more of that was actually a little grind. We actually used to travel, and still do sometimes, travel every weekend 10 hours to go and set up for one event, and go and just find venues, go and talk to all of these people and really express what it is that we're trying to do. So I think the success in having a production company or a company where people are coming to you for consulting and curating and executing anything, the success is getting out there and having a clear messaging on what it is that you do, and not focusing on the numbers. The numbers will come, but focusing on what it is that you want to happen for that community. And when you focus on what you want to happen in that community, the dollars will have to align to that. So being in perfect alignment in either one of my businesses is the only thing that matters about being successful. Outside of alignment, you can have all the things in the world and get nowhere, or have all of this money and then completely lose it because that was your goal. Your goal was to get a certain amount of money and then it died. So that would be my advice.
What book, Dr. Crystal, would you recommend to our audience, and why?
I know this is going to be super cliche, but the book I would recommend is The 4 Agreement. And I say that because when I read that book, I realized that I could make the agreements that my life lived by, my life operated by. And while I use the 4 agreements, I also have other core values and certain things. And reading that book really allowed me to have a foundation of business and what actually mattered. I don't know if you can tell through the interview, philosophy is my thing. I like to know why. And so really having whys and then a philosophy behind that those are really strong for me, and I recommend them for other people. Reading that book is absolutely, I think, fundamental for personal development, which also is business development.
Dr. Crystal, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked you, and I would like you to answer that question?
The one question I ask anybody, what's your story? That, I think, knowing that connects anybody to the product or the why, or to even why the questions are answered the way they are. So the one question that I think would be so important is, what's your story? And while I have decades of stories, my biggest story is that when I didn't want to be on this earth anymore, nobody else knew, because I always was a success in other people's eyes. I always knew how to make other people believe that everything was okay. And I knew how to perform for everyone else, and everything else. Everything in life for me was a performance. And so I dedicated my life to those performers. I dedicated my life to those who took care of everybody else and who did everything for everybody else, and who found their power in everything that surrounded them. I knew how to achieve. I knew how to make straight A's. I knew how to do everything because I knew what everybody told, and I could do what everybody told me. And so the reason why I practice the way that I practice and have built companies that I built is because I need for women to understand their power is within, and you understanding who you are and what you have decided to be here for are the absolute most important things. So even when I was trained in what people would consider fixing people or alleviating pain, I realized that I couldn't use my title to do that anymore. I couldn't use my title to fix anybody. I had to have people understand that they were their own healers. All I could do was facilitate it. And so from the first moment anybody ever meets me, the power is already back into them, and they get to choose me as a guide. Nobody I ever work with needs me. So my story of finding so much power and validation and outside sources is why I work in the complete opposite way. Because when I realized who I was and who I was as a human being, as a vessel, as a spirit, that completely changed my life. So I offer that to other people in a spiritual, emotional, biochemical, and physiological way.
So, Dr. Crystal, share with our audience a parting piece of advice that you want to offer?
Parting advice would be entrepreneurship, because I know this is what, we talk about a lot on this podcast. Entrepreneurship is a journey. It is a series of choices, and you get to make choices every single moment of your life. The understanding that once you make a choice, it's not permanent is freedom. So it's really important for you to maybe move through fear and make a few choices that maybe you have been scared of. And then understand that you get to go left, right, forward, backwards, upside down, higher, whatever it is from that next choice. You get to move back from that choice. You get to decide, I never want to do that again. But to be fully planted in your choice and be there and own those decisions, I think that is fundamentally important for anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, because it is, once again, a journey, and you gotta buckle up like you do on a roller coaster and decide that this is what I want to do, and then allow it to evolve from there.
Thank you for that. Now, Dr. Crystal, we've come to the part of our podcast that's called the Fun Facts Lightning Round, and I'll ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give us very quick answers. If there's something that you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
I am.
So, Dr. Crystal, the last movie you saw?
Thor.
You relaxed doing what?
Being by the water, meditating.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
The group called Beautiful Chorus.
Your favorite dance song?
Get Me Bodied by Beyonce.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
I don't know that I have that, but maybe, since it's a herb, lemon ginger tea.
And your favorite month?
August.
Dr. Crystal, thank you so much for spending time with us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. But before we close, what is the best way for our audience to connect with you and to support your business?
The best way to connect with me is healwithcrystal.com, HEALWITHCRYSTAL.com. From there, you can see any type of social media outlet. And then I also have all of the speaking engagements that I speak for in the companies that I work with on my website. So that hub will kind of let you know where I am, at least usually through the year.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crystal, for spending time with us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.